It's exactly 20 days today since the war broke out in the Gaza Strip. Over 7,000 Palestinians have been killed in this campaign of relentless bombing that Israel has resorted to. Now, Gaza continues to remain under a crippling blockade where 2.3 million people at this moment are without access to food, water, electricity and fuel. For almost about a fortnight now, there's been a lot of talk about an Israeli ground invasion into the Gaza Strip. Battle tanks are ready at the border, and there are also reports that some have in fact even been making forays into the Gazan territory as well. At this moment as we speak, while you look at these horrific images from the Palestinian territory, keep in mind that 360,000 soldiers and reservists have been mobilized and have completely surrounded the tiny patch of Gaza Strip. Now, late last night, some media reports in fact suggested that Israel has agreed to delay the ground invasion into the Gaza Strip. The reports claimed that the United States had managed to prevail and it convinced Israel to do so because that would give the Pentagon more time to rush missile defenses into the region. And hours later, the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said this.
אנחנו ממטירים על החמאס אש תופת. כבר חיסלנו אלפי מחבלים, וזאת רק ההתחלה. במקביל אנחנו נערכים לכניסה קרקעית. אני לא אפרט מתי.
Now, it seems like Israel is purposefully being pretty ambiguous in terms of what its strategy is. It seems ambiguity is a part of Israel's strategy. Because right away, the Prime Minister's address and also what has happened is the Israeli Defense Ministry has put out this footage. Now, the Israeli army, a part of it with its few tanks and armored vehicles, entered into the Gaza Strip. Now, the IDF claims to have struck Hamas cells, infrastructure and anti-tank missile launch posts. Now, remember, over the course of the last few days, Israel has made these tiny forays into the Gaza Strip over and over again. But what has happened last night is that this was the biggest incursion by the Israelis into the Palestinian territory so far. In a tweet, the Israeli forces have also said that this ground incursion is in preparation for the next stage of combat. The IDF has confirmed that the soldiers have since exited from the area and have now returned back into the Israeli territory.
This war will be long, and in order to meet the goals of this war, we need resilience, we need faith, we need patience.
The experts have suggested that Israel does not have an end game in place at the moment. They've also noted that Israel's strategy cannot be judged according to the past wars. The overnight incursion could, of course, be to test and probe the Palestinian resistance. The analysts are busy analyzing Israel's strategy. Gaza remains under a crippling siege. Now, siege is a tactic of military operations. It's pretty old. So on the 9th of October, when Israel announced the siege, it wasn't surprising. But it is, remember, to cut off water supplies, food and electricity and other essentials of life is essentially a war crime. The Gaza Strip has been cut off from communications and supplies. An unprecedented humanitarian crisis is unfolding as we speak. As people have no access to food, water, fuel and electricity, Israel has asked all Palestinians to move towards the southern part of Gaza. But the fact is, Israel has been bombarding even the southern part of Gaza, and Maxar Technologies has compared some of the locations, and it shows the devastation that has been wreaked by Israeli airstrikes, both in the northern part of Gaza and also in the southern part of Gaza, which Israel claims it is safe. But the local Palestinians say that it simply is not. All right, now to give us more perspective in terms of what the Israeli strategy at this moment is, we're being joined by Mr. Frederick Fleets. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. He's the Vice Chairman of the America First Policy Institute Center for American Security. He's also a former Chief of Staff of National Security Council as well. He's joining us on this broadcast. Now, Mr. Fleets, this is a question that a lot of people that perhaps, want some answers to. For more than 10 days now, we've been hearing from the Israeli side that they are ready for a ground incursion. But what we've been witnessing at this moment are these small probing incursions by certain Israeli tanks and other armored vehicles. What is the Israeli game plan here?
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I like to say at the outset that we know that truth is the first victim in times of war. We don't really know what's going on in Gaza. These numbers of thousands of Palestinians being killed, those numbers are from Hamas. We don't know that they're true. But I will say that basically...
But I'm sure you've been watching the images that are emerging out of Gaza of people being pulled out from underneath the rubble.
Frankly, it sounded like Hamas propaganda. I didn't hear you talk about what Hamas did to murder and rape and brutalize 1,300 people in Israel and across the border. Israel wants to conduct this attack to wipe Hamas out as a terrorist group on its border and as a governing authority of this organization, of this area. But I agree, this is going to be difficult. And whatever Israel's plan is, it's not putting it forward right now for the public to know. It doesn't want Gaza to know. And Israel's going to invade when it's ready to invade. It knows that Gaza is full of traps and landmines and snipers, and the Israelis are not going to walk into a trap. They will invade Gaza when they're ready.
Right. Now, if you've been watching our coverage, Mr. Fleets, we've been covering extensively as to what Hamas has done when it carried out its attack on the 7th of October as well. But the question that we are asking today, of course, is what is happening at this moment? Now, also from the American perspective, we are given to understand that the Americans perhaps have told the Israelis to hold off this ground invasion for a bit till the Americans are ready, and they are shifting their anti-air defense systems closer to the Israeli territory. Is there something that you're picking up on your front on this particular aspect of American involvement in this war?
It appears the Biden administration has asked for a pause because they would like negotiations to proceed to get the hostages out. They also are rushing in air defense equipment to protect American soldiers and personnel in several Middle East countries. It could be that Israel has delayed the attack because of this, but it could also be that Israel just is not ready to attack. I will tell you that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not going to be told by President Biden on when he can invade Gaza. He will invade Gaza when he believes the Israeli military is ready.
Do you think Prime Minister Netanyahu has a strategy in place to get back the captives, the hostages who at this moment are in the custody of Hamas? Hamas claims that at least about 50 of the hostages that they've taken in their custody have died in Israeli bombings.
Well, I mean, we have no way of knowing that's true. My guess it isn't true, and that if 50 hostages are dead, Hamas killed them. It's a very difficult challenge because Hamas is dribbling out small numbers of hostages to free them, to buy time and to delay an attack, knowing that international pressure will build on Israel not to attack Gaza. It's a real challenge for Netanyahu. I believe he and his unity cabinet have a strategy. It's going to be ugly, but it's something that the Israeli government thinks it has to do to preserve its security.
Absolutely, indeed. The family members of those who've been taken hostage, they would, of course, want some answers. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Flitz, for joining us and getting us those insights there.
Good to be here.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.